John mentioned that new reporting from CNN, which, by the way, echoes other reporting this week from the New York Times and others, saying the Pentagon and National Security Council significantly underestimated Iran's ability to respond to the U.S. military strikes while planning the operation. According to that report, top Trump officials acknowledged to lawmakers during recent classified briefings they did not plan for the possibility of Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz in response to strikes. That's according to three sources familiar with the closed-door session. But in a new interview with Sky News, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the U.S. Navy will be escorting oil tankers through the strait.
That was always in our planning, that there's the chance that U.S. Navy or perhaps an international coalition will be escorting oil tankers through. There are, in fact, tankers coming through now, Iranian tankers, I believe some Chinese flag tankers have come through, so we know that they have not mined the straits. My belief that as soon as it is militarily possible, the U.S. Navy, perhaps with an international coalition, will be escorting vessels through.
And as military experts have been telling us this week, that's an extraordinarily difficult exercise to escort those tankers through, perhaps under attack from Iran as well. Joining us now, MS Now reporter Josh Einiger. He's live in Dubai. So, Josh, what is the latest on the fight over the control of the Strait of Hormuz, these key shipping lanes that control about 20% of the world's oil?
Well, Willie, actually, just building off of what Bessent there said, that they're prepared in the coming period of time to start escorting ships through the strait. About an hour ago, I had a chance to talk to an expert in shipping and in the geopolitics of the region here, specifically about that question. And his point was the whole reason why the U.S. military would escort ships through the strait is to sort of provide a shield around them, a deterrence, really, so that if somebody were to attack the U.S. Military ship, that would be an act of war, and it would attract a huge response from the U.S. military. Well, Iran is already in a hot conflict with the United States. So this analyst told me there really isn't any deterrence to the idea of sending U.S. ships through the strait alongside the cargo ships. They would just become targets themselves, obviously very well-armed targets. But against a swarm of drones, it's much more difficult, as we've seen, of course, in the last few weeks, to defend against. We do know that in 48 hours, something like 6 ships were targeted by Iran, and these are not ships that are in the strait, and I think that's an important point. They're in the Persian Gulf. They're just sitting ducks. They're waiting for the chance to leave or to come up with some other plan. And as they sit there motionless, they're being targeted. And so that's the state of play right now in the Persian Gulf. Iran, obviously, its new supreme leader, or the words written, we are told, by the new supreme leader, suggest that they're going to continue using this as a point of leverage to raise the cost of this war for the United States. And obviously that seems unlikely to stop anytime soon. Willie.
And, Josh, one of the other things the new supreme leader said, in addition to saying we're going to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, is that, yes, we will continue to attack our neighbors across the Gulf. Where you're standing right now, for example, the financial center, an attempted attack just today. So tell us more about that attack there in Dubai, and what is the larger view from the people there on this war?
Yeah, so the Dubai International Financial Center, it's basically the Wall Street of Dubai. And, yesterday there was a lot of reporting that U.S. banks, Citigroup, J.P. Morgan Chase, which have a toehold here in Dubai, as almost all banks on the planet do, were taking steps to protect their workforce. The reality is the government of Dubai had already banned in-person work and school, so most people are not in the office as it is. This attack this morning, which the government says was actually the result of debris from an intercepted drone, it's still a drone attack, and it still caused a fair amount of damage on a building in that financial center neighborhood, although we are told there were no injuries. But widening out, big picture, I will say this isn't it doesn't feel like a war zone in the city of Dubai. We're in downtown Dubai. People have asked us a lot, do we hear intercepts and loud booms? We really don't, because the city is so sprawling. There have been a number of incidents where drone attacks have impacted residential buildings. We've told there have been not many injuries from them. The most injuries have happened when intercepted drones fall to the ground and either hurt or kill someone on the ground. There have been 6 people killed in the UAE and over 100 people injured as a result of that type of activity. But Willie, I would just say that it does seem, generally speaking, that the pace of the attacks, the number, just the raw numbers have dropped in terms of the number of drones and missiles being sent by Iran. The targeting has been a lot more strategic. They are heavily going after the airport. They are heavily going after, obviously, the Strait of Hormuz and oil infrastructure as they try to really just cripple the global economy and American interests in the region. Willie.
MS Now reporter Josh Einiger live for us from Dubai this morning. Josh, thanks so much. We appreciate it. So, Richard Haass, going back to the Scott Bessent case in the Strait of Hormuz, saying that the United States Navy soon, as he said, will be escorting ships through the strait, and the larger question of whether the United States anticipated accurately these moves from Iran. We heard New York Times reporting a couple days ago where the energy secretary had said to President Trump that the oil prices may go up for a short time, but it'll be a blip, much like it was last June when the United States and Israel attacked the nuclear facilities in Iran. How big and how long of a problem is this? Because this really is the one point of leverage the Iranians have.
It's a big problem, and it's a long duration problem. You can't have individual tankers escorted through a 20, 21-mile strait. The idea that you would put U.S. naval vessels at risk for drones, for speedboats, for swarming attacks is just a non-starter. We're not going to have a military solution there. So, with all due respect to the Secretary of the Treasury, I disagree. What we're going to have to do, again, is find a political arrangement with Iran, and it's going to be part of a larger negotiation. I think we'll get there. But in the meantime, you're not going to have U.S. Navy taking on that role. Insurers are not going to touch this problem. So at the moment, the only tankers that are going to get through are those who the Iranians basically announce are welcome. Otherwise, again, you can't send a fully loaded tanker with all it's worth without insurance. And again, no one's going to insure it. And this is not going to rebound quickly. It's going to take time for this to play itself out. It won't be ultimately, oil will come down gradually. We may not get down to $60 a barrel again, but it'll come down, but only when you have a larger understanding, not simply about the straits, but about, if you will, the post-conflict Middle East, about Iran, the United States, Israel. And by the way, we haven't talked about it. You're going to have the United States and Iran are going to have to stop attacks. Israel is going to have to agree to sign on attacks. It took 1 to start this war. Well, it's going to take 3. It's going to take 3 to stop it. So we're going to have some diplomacy between the United States and Israel is going to come into it, and between the United States and Iran. And again, the straits and the passage of tankers is going to be one dimension of it. But one last point, what Josh was talking about, this part of the Middle East has become really different. It's the new Middle East, unlike the Egypts and the Syrias and so forth. This is the Middle East that was for trying to get modern. This is the place of data centers and energy and the like. And there's a lot at stake here. But again, we've got to create, if you will, a new negotiated environment. It's just not going to be a military solution to this situation.